Alright, Schlockmeister fans, another request, or a comedy from the early 80s. Ringo Starr as Caveman. Let's check it out. There's Ringo, he plays Atuk. There's John Matuzak, he plays Tonda. And here's the date. John Lennon's birthday. Our cave people live amongst stop animation monsters and dinosaurs, too. Tonda's the leader. He's a bully. He kind of beat up Lar a little bit, Dennis Quaid. Atuk goes to help him, and a friendship is born. There's Barbara Bach. She plays Lana, Tonda's woman. Atuk kind of likes her, though. So he's a little bit smitten and a little bit jealous. Anyway, Ringo really wants to get with Lana, so he decides to give Tonda this fruit with these berries that make you drowsy and fall asleep. Same with Lana, so I guess you'll see. So yeah, Ringo basically wants to molest her while she sleeps. I mean, it's cave people, they do that. But the slapstick tells you that he's not able to pull it off. Eventually, Tonda wakes up and sees Atuk all over his girl and chases him out of their cave, and Ringo at this point is basically banished from the group. He ends up going to find Lar, hugs him, and straightens out his back. If you notice, all of our Neanderthals were walking slumped over a little bit. They figure out how to stand upright. This caveman land features some very, very giant bugs, too. Atuk has a solution. They saved this guy from tar pits or something. That's Gog, played by Jack Gilford, and of course there is Lana, played by Shelley Long. Straightens her back out too. Ringo takes care of a dinosaur that was bothering them. Very the Land of the Lost looking. Ringo has another idea for they're going to kidnap her. Lana. It's a failure, though. She screams for Tonda. And she got away on her own anyway. And they're on their own. So we basically have two tribes now. Ringo's tribe and Tonda's tribe. They found a whole bunch of other people, too. Some lightning strikes, starts a fire, and this is how they discovered fire. And with the discovery of fire, they discover cooking your food. They also accidentally discover music. There's a shortage of food. Both tribes are hungry, and Atuk's tribe finds a giant egg. And then Tonda's tribe shows up and tries to steal the egg. They manage to steal the egg, but a pterodactyl chases them, and they drop the egg off a cliff, which falls on some sort of heated vent or something, which immediately turns into a fried egg. But they can't reach it. But guess whose tribe can? That's right, Ringo eats the egg. They thought the little guy was missing in his pile of shit.
Caca. Shit.
When Tonda's tribe is out, they decide to raid their cave. At one point, Lars slips away on some sort of river bend here, and he's lost. Lana got separated from Tonda and his group, too. She ended up on Ringo's side. So Lars is lost, Lana is found, Ringo's a little horny. Lar has ended up in a nearby ice age somewhere. Lar ended up popping out of this little lake here. And there's an abominable snowman in the lake as well. Apparently Lana loves Atuk now. With Lana gone, the women are vying for Tonda's new woman. And Tala went there to basically tell him that, hey, I know where Lana is. Meanwhile, Atuk and the good guys find Lar frozen in ice. And they're attempting to thaw him out. Of course, the abominable snowman is also thawing out at the same time. Tonda eventually tracks down Lana and Atuk's group. Atuk group's plans an attack, and we have an all-out war. Which, of course, eventually comes down to Atuk versus Tonda. The two battle it out. Even Lana gets involved, which, of course, is going to make Tala get involved. With a little help from his friends, Atuk is eventually able to take Tonda down. So, with the battle won, Atuk walks off with Lana, leaving a very distraught Tala. But did he mean it? Nope, he takes that Bond girl and future wife of his and tosses her into some shit. He, of course, picks Tala. And they live happily ever after. Alright, let's talk about this movie, Caveman, starring Ringo Starr, Barbara Bach, John Matuzak. It's a movie that came out on cable when I was a little kid. I saw it over and over and over again. Saw it a lot of times. Liked it a lot, too. Obviously, I was little and I enjoyed the slapstick, and I remember watching this movie years later, perhaps in the 90s, when I retaped this movie on an SP speed tape, and I remember thinking at the time that it didn't hold up very well, kind of like History of the World Part 1, which I didn't think held up very well either. So I wasn't completely looking forward to this today, although I must say I really enjoyed it today. I don't know exactly what it was, but I did enjoy watching this movie. Dennis Quaid's also in this, by the way. There's just caveman dialogue in this movie. No real dialogue except for the word shit, which one of the characters says at one point. Other than that, there's just a lot of grunts and things like that. There are words, but there's like 30 words in language. In fact, as I recall, when this movie came out in the theaters, some of the theaters actually handed out like a little pamphlet with 30 vocabulary words. This is what love means. This is what
fight means or food means or whatever. So there was a couple lines of dialogue in this movie. There was some stop animation, dinosaur stuff in here too. It's just basically a slapstick comedy movie. Ringo Starr actually met his wife, or his current wife, Barbara Bach, on the set of this movie as well. I think this was filmed in the summer of 1980 down in Mexico. And I think it was filmed a few months before John Lennon was shot and killed. And actually, when this movie came out, you can saw in the opening scene there, it says, 1 zillion BC. Then it says October 9th. October 9th was a reference to John Lennon because that was actually his birthday. So there you go. So anyway, this movie has been released on Blu-ray since then as well. It's got a couple of DVDs. I've had this DVD a very, very long time. This is the first time I've ever actually watched it, though, and put it in my machine. This is one of those old DVDs that actually has widescreen on one side and full screen on the other. So I watched the widescreen, obviously. So John Matuszak was a professional football player. He played for the Raiders, a couple other teams as well. He was about a year or two away from retiring at this point. He ended up dying at a young age, 38. I think it was an overdose of drugs. He was well known to be a drug user during his playing days too. So anyway, it's also Shelley Long, one of her very first feature film roles here as well, as Tala, I think was her name. So anyway, check it out. It's actually a pretty decent film. Again, it's dumb and it's a comedy and it's just silly and farcical, but I enjoyed it. I think my favorite scene, of course, was the bug getting squished on Dennis Quaid's face. That's the one thing I always remember from a kid. It was my favorite scene back then. I still enjoy it now. Pretty gross and disgusting. Check it out. It's called Caveman. Leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think about this. And again, this was a request. A couple people actually requested this a couple weeks back, and I'm getting to it now. So let me know what you think. Leave some comments down below. Bye.